Why don't you share with us your thoughts of how do you identify metaverse technology opportunities?
Well, there's three particular areas that you have to look at. One is the software. What are the tools that are being created to use the software? In one sense, I mentioned Web 3.0. That is still a spec that is in evolutionary design, although there are a lot of pieces that are in place. But you need to be looking at the evolution of Web 3.0 technologies and what are the various things that are being developed that can sit on top of that. Secondly, it's kind of an interesting thing, but when I mentioned about the virtual worlds early on, talking about gaming, where if you play, world of various games, you're actually in a virtual world. And what's interesting about it is they are created on what are known as gaming engines, Unity, Roblox, Minecraft, etc. And it turns out that those gaming platforms are going to play a very important role at the center of developing next generation AR, VR, XR applications. Now, Apple's already got a great platform in place in AR Kit, but Apple's going to make that even broader and greater over time. Google already has things in that way. Meta, with their Meta Quest, are their Quest 2 headsets, and the architectural engines that they use. I mean, there are a lot of new software technologies that are being created to allow you to actually create the kind of applications you need. And you need to study and begin looking at that. That's one of the areas that we cover in our briefing. Secondly, you need to look at the hardware. The hardware side of this, ironically, has been around for quite a while. So you look at one major company who's been doing this in field service, Vuzix, has been actually creating headsets for over 10 years. And Microsoft introduced HoloLens almost 10 years ago. You've got Meta's Quest headset that has been recently introduced, and you've got multiple new ones that are in the pipeline, as well as Apple's, which we don't think will come out this year, but could come out as early as next year, and for sure by 2024. So you have to also look at the potential hardware solutions. And then you have to think about these based on your individual needs. How would you take these technologies and apply these to customer service, to sales, to field service, etc.? Because as I mentioned earlier, that you do have, I think, a need to have a metaverse investigator who looks at it in the context of the entire company. But you really need to not look at creating a global metaverse strategy off the beginning. I think you have to do this kind of in chunks. You would actually start at a project in field service or sales or marketing, and then investigate the hardware, the software, and the tools and the applications, one that already exist. And then if you have to create them as yourselves, you need to look at some of the gaming engines, some of the software engines that exist, whether it be AR kit, toolkits, the Android toolkit for MR and XR, as well as the ones that are being used for Quest. But the fact of the matter is that the technology is actually here to start doing stuff. Not only create pilot programs, but create final programs. As you've seen from some of the videos we've already shown you, there's companies already using it. And we emphasize that in our research, the Metaverse Research Center that you have access to. You can go in there and look at a lot of these applications that are being done today, not suggesting this in the future. That's why we're pretty proactive with companies telling them that they really need to be seriously looking and investigating this now. Even if it might take another year or two to flush out, you need to be at the forefront of it, not being in a laggard position.
This is tremendously insightful, Tim. I'd like to make a comment on one thing Tim said. He's pointing out the importance from a software, from a hardware, from applications perspective, and the tremendous opportunities that exist among some of the world's best companies and even emerging companies. One of the things that I will say in some wisdom over the years is I don't like when technology drives a new sales process or behavior, or drives marketing or customer service. Typically, I like to get the process in place and then look at how the technology could impact it. But I will make an observation, and that is this metaverse technology, and Tim's educating me as much as you today, but this metaverse technology really is a game changer. And it really does, it has to be looked at. You have to ask this question: what technology exists to address some of these issues, or how could I use metaverse technology to take a step ahead of the competition or to get closer to the customer? So the technology component, which is, my people plus technology kind of frame up, is only 20% of the overall effort, 40% being process, 50% being people, 30% being process, 20% being technology, even though that 20% is very, very important in the metaverse technology. That's all I want to say.